we think we are separated from each other. But for me, this is the biggest lie, because what I see is that we are all one, no?
Absolutely. I think it's vital. And we need to recognize that we're not, you know, it's like we have this idea, I'm from my country and there are other countries that are separate. We're all citizens of the earth. This planet is our home for all of us. And what is it going to take for us to recognize that and stop believing that separation is real based on nationality, based on color, based on sex, based on religion, based on any of those things? Those are all choices different people make. Okay, cool. Now, how do we come together as a worldwide citizenship and citizenry that has the capacity to recognize this is our home, let's take care of our home, let us honor our brothers and our sisters, and let us contribute to them everything that will make their lives great. And if we did, we'd see a different world. And the other thing to recognize is every animal, every tree, every plant has consciousness. Every molecule truly has consciousness. But the other thing about that is, if you look at the two-leggeds walking around on the planet, they choose against their consciousness. Like they go against their knowing continuously. They go against what's light. We don't see animals doing that. It's like if wolves go against their knowing, they die. If gazelles go against their knowing, they die. It's like the wolf doesn't go, oh, there are gazelles over there. No, I'm going to go over here instead and spend 6 months doing something that I hate. It's like, that's not the way that the rest of the world functions. It's only we humanoid type people that do that sort of thing. And okay, fine, but we have a different choice.
That's true. Yes, that is true. I was talking with Desiree, and when she was doing the bar, and what comes to my mind was that about the fear. So the question is, what is this fear and what is possible?
Well, do you want me to go into the weird explanation of it that will actually change it, or the surface explanation that will sound normal to your listeners?
I don't want nothing normal.
Then here we go. Well, if we're bringing in fear, we also need to bring in the way to clear it. See, because for me, it's one thing to talk about it, and because I've been in so many workshops where we talked about things and they told me what it was, but they never gave me a way to change it. And then I had to think about it continuously, whether I was doing this or not. And then I went into judgment of me, and then it never changed. It only got worse because I was now doing it and judging myself for doing it. So for me, when I talk about something, it's also time to change it. So let me tell you the three things that fear is. And then, so fear is, number one, fear is a part of something called a distractor implant. A distractor implant is something that's designed to distract you by making you run around in circles up here rather than getting beneath it and being able to create in the way that you actually can. And fear, and an implanted point of view is something that you adopt at some point, some way, somehow. And, I have said for a very long time, everything I thought was true in life has turned out to be a lie or an implanted point of view. Now, where do we get these implants? I don't have an answer for that. I just know that a lot of the things that sit in your world for a long time seem to act like implants, and an implant creates a false version of reality that appears more real than what is truly real. Okay, so first is fear is a distractor implant. Now, if you have access to the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which we need to do now too, you can change the distractor implants. And we have a we have a book that we wrote on the distractor implants, because one of the things that we found is we could change these things. And so the distractor implants are anger, rage, fury, and hate. Because if you've ever tried to handle somebody who's in anger or hatred, it's almost impossible. The reason it's not possible is because it's actually not real, in that it's an implanted point of view. It's a distractor implant. So anger, rage, fear, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt. If you, once again, I mean, and especially in Latin America, the blame, shame, regret, and guilt, oh my goodness, it's like a national, it's like an international pastime. You know what I mean? And nobody knows how to get rid of it, but everybody has it. It's like telenovela. Oh, Dios mío, ¿qué pasa? I'm so bad. I'm so bad, you know? And it's like, you're like, okay, honey, calm down a little bit. Get your bars run, you know? And so anger, rage, fear, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt are all distractor implants. And we could change them if we were willing to by when they come up. Oh, and fear and doubt also. There's a whole bunch of other ones, but let's not go into that right now. So if we look at anger, rage, fear, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, fear and doubt, they're all these implanted points of view. Well, what do you do to change an implanted point of view? For that, you need to use one of actually the biggest tools of access consciousness, which is the clearing statement. And the clearing statement is, it's a way of going back to wherever you created a limited point of view and dissolving it. And it's one of the biggest things that we use all the time, but it's also one of the weirdest sounding. So people are like, are you doing voodoo? And I'm like, yes, of the best kind. No, it's not voodoo, it's actually consciousness in motion. The clearing statement is actually short for about 6 pages of material. And so it's one of the tools that Access has that nothing else has, that allows us to, instead of visualizing to go back to where it started or feeling it or whatever, we ask to destroy and uncreate the limitation. And then if the person is willing to, then we run the clearing statement and it starts to dissolve from the point where it got created. It's like science, you know, the wall looks solid in the room that we're in, but science tells us it's 99.999% space. Well, what if it's the same thing with the limitations in our lives? What if there's this, we've just created them as solid, and what if there's this space where we could twist it and just walk right through it and never have it limit us again? So in order to clear fear, doubt, anger, rage, fury, hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt, anytime they come up, you just go, okay, so all of those distractor implants, I now destroy and uncreate. And then you run the clearing statement, or the short form of the clearing statement. The short form of it is POC and POD, POC and POD. POC stands for going back to the point of creation of wherever you created a limitation, or the point of destruction of wherever you destroyed something that was not limited and put limitation in place. So you can go POC and POD all that. It still works because it's been done so many billions of times around the planet at this point. Or you can run the entire thing. If you're somebody like me who is very, shall we say, particular, I don't know if, you know, like anal retentive translates, you know, very well. But for me, I say the whole thing, which is right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And what that does is the right and wrong, good and bad are the judgments of it. POC and POD we just talked about. The all 9 stands for 9 layers of this thing that I don't even remember, and I was part of finding them. Shorts is your punishments, rewards, the meaningful, the meaningless, all the stuff, all the points of view about it. Boys is these things called, boys are these things that look like an onion, and they just make sure that it keeps reappearing no matter how much change you try to do. So we eliminate that. It's an energetic structure. And beyonds is that energy you get in your gut, like when you get a bill that's 10 times more than it should be. Well, we let that go too. That's called a beyond. There's much more explanation, you know, on the clearingstatement.com website, but I just wanted people to have just a tiny bit. So if you're willing to actually start using this thing, you can do it for anything that comes up. Like, let's say you're in fear, you go, okay, everything Dain said in POC and POD. And I've had people who have done that where it literally changed. So fear, first distractor implant. The second thing about fear is fear and excitement feel exactly the same way. And it's our point of view about it that determines what we decide it is. So like Gary tells this story about being a little kid. He was going to go on the Ferris wheel and he was pulling on his mom's skirt, so excited. He was ready to go. He was just so excited. And she looked down and said, now don't be afraid, dear. For his entire life, he misidentified that excited energy as afraid. And so every time, you know, he was excited about something, he's like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of this, until he got this information. And this is what we see with a lot of people. And so we'll have somebody in class go, I'm so afraid of my new job. And I'm like, are you afraid or excited? And they go, oh, I'm excited. Oops. Okay. So, so we pock and pod the distractor implants because that's part of where fear gets turned, or excitement gets turned into fear. Then when you can have the excitement and enthusiasm for it, then that's an energy that propels you forward. So, and the last thing is, it is somebody else's fear, either in present time or that one of the ways that we work, you know, we talked about being an energetic being. When we're little kids, we come in and we're like, whoa, how do they do it here? What a weird place, you know? And people are doing all their weird lives and all that sort of stuff. But what we do is we are so close to our parents energetically and physically that what we do is we figure out how they do reality by seeing how they interact with people and how they interact with situations. So for example, like I grew up and my mom, and by the way, I'm glad you asked about fear, and I apologize for the long explanation, but I really hope it helps people, because I used to shiver in fear 19 years ago. Before Access, I was starting my second practice in Santa Barbara, and the only thing I could think to do, because I didn't know anybody or anything there, the only thing I could think to do was to pick up the phone and call people, call other practitioners and see if I could meet with them. And I was so afraid. I would pick up the phone and I would start shaking before I could even dial the number. And I was literally shaking. And then I was like, oh, and I was trying all my tools before Access that I didn't have. Nobody told me how to get rid of fear. And then I would start crying, literally crying and shaking. Here I am, a doctor, crying and shaking on the other end of the line. I would put down the phone. I would get myself out of it. I would make sure to make that damn phone call. But it would sometimes take me an hour to get over it, to build up the courage again to call. Okay, so when I talk about fear, I need to also say, I have not had fear for, I don't know, the last 17 years, because it's not a reality for an infinite being. It's not a reality for us as beings. And some people say, yes, but you need fear. So you need fear to guide you so you don't hurt yourself. No, you don't. You need awareness to guide you. Fear does nothing except destroy. Okay, there is nothing valuable about fear, period. Because you can accomplish everything that fear gives you from awareness, from choice, and from and awareness and choice don't shut down your world like fear does. So we don't have to live with fear. It's something that we bought that we have to live with, and something that nobody has ever told us how to change. Because let's face it, nobody else is talking about implants or how to clear them, or distractor implants or how to clear them, which is why I say Access is one of the weirdest things you will ever do. So anyway, back to the conversation. So fear is either a distractor implant, it's excitement that you misidentified and misapplied, or it's somebody else's. And so when we're little kids, we look at how mom deals with money. We look at how mom deals with friends. We look at how mom deals with life. And a lot of us had parents who were afraid of one thing or another. And so what happens is we buy that point of view as ours. We kind of are like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, I'll do it that way. You know, it's like taking a computer program going, oh, I'll install that program. Okay, now I do it just like daddy does and mommy does. In fact, I do it just like mommy and daddy do, you know? And so when the situation comes up that would have sparked quote unquote fear for mom or fear for dad, guess what you do? This is how oh my God, I'm so afraid. Why? Because this is how we respond. And so part of what Access gives you with this clearing statement is you can go, okay, so everywhere I bought, all of this is mine, destroy and uncreate it, pock and pod, or the whole long clearing statement if you want to. It's truly phenomenal. Like I see Access as one of the biggest personal development upgrade to come along since personal development has existed. And you see it in the smiles of people. And but the thing that I don't know if anybody is ever truly able to convey is how very much the quality of your life changes. When you no longer feel like there's so many things in your life you would like to change, but you can't. When you start to have the sense of, wow, I'd like to change this. Okay, I'm going to work on changing it now. And then you see it start to change. God, there's nothing more exciting for somebody that's a seeker who's wanted to change things and know it should be possible their whole lives, and have been told that you can't, or tried to do it and people won't let you, or people give you these ideas of what's supposed to work. Like when I was in metaphysics and I wanted to change my money situation, this lady said to me, "You must take the purple light of Saint Germain, swirl it through the earth and through your feet and through and up through your root chakra and up through your base and up through your heart center, and expand your heart with purple light, and then through your throat so you can speak your desires, and then out to the crowd." And I was like, that's gonna change my money situation? Now, this lady had no money. Never listen to somebody who has less than you of what you desire, okay? And here's where I was at the time, okay? This was a few years before Access. I was so willing to do whatever it took that my question to her when she said this would change my money situation was, how many times? And so I have this personal thing where I get really frustrated with people giving other people things that will not work and don't work. And it's like, and so for us, the tools that we share in Access work on 85% of the people that use it at least. Otherwise, we don't make it part of Access.
Thank you for the explanation, because it's really good, and it was something that I was looking for. And thank you very much.
Oh, cool. I'm so glad.
I will use
My
it.
pleasure.